Best of R/ Tales from Tech Support episode 43. My company uses an in-house $ application for a very specific subset of work. Maybe 150 of our 2,000 employees use $ application. Technically, we purchased a smaller company who developed $ application for themselves. $ application was touted as the reason for the purchase. My experience with it makes me wonder how everyone involved with, or who did due diligence on the purchase was not fired. $ application is a giant piece of trash. For this story, the relevant information is that it saves all user-specific data to C/program data/application. First, there is a text file that has nothing but the user's initials in it, as there is not traditional login to $ application. It just references that text file to load the specific data for each user. Second, every other bit of user-specific data that is downloaded or used is also saved in that folder. Lastly, all the important bits are hard-coded into $ application, such as the IP of the file server it needs a constant connection to. Recently, my company was bought by a company several orders of magnitude larger than ours. They've come up with grand expansion plans for the department that uses $ application, including outsourcing a lot of the on-site tasks that we use it for. As such, they asked our IT to make it usable remotely. We gave leadership two options: set up in our Citrix environment as a standalone app, or in our VDI VM environment on full PC VMs. We in IT recommended VDI, even though it'd be difficult. It was at least possible with the current configuration of $ application, and impossible if attempting to set up in Citrix. Of course, leadership ignored our recommendation and chose Citrix. Once we reminded them again of $ application's configuration, they roped in the dev team to rewrite $ application to make it more compatible with Citrix. After the devs quoted development time of 40 hours to fix, this is how the rewritten $ application will function. We've modified $ application to check for C/script/Citrix application text. If $ application sees our text file, it will save all user-specific data to C/user/username/program data/application. If not seen, data will continue to be saved to C/program data/application. We still need to testing, including by placing a file there on a PC with the full $ application, and seeing the behavior. And the very first question to that was, so why don't you just change $ application to always save user data to their profile? That would even make an implementation in VDI much easier if we still can't get it working in Citrix. Before a coherent answer, like there even is one, could be found, the project manager derailed a conversation to whether or not installing $ application in Citrix would allow the proper times to Word and Outlook. And as of today there is still no answer to our question, or even the Office app times. Later, without leadership or devs around, we pondered the last statement about rewritten $ application. Why not just add that text file for all new installs on local machines anyways? If anyone ever finds out about it, just point out the lack of issues and re-ask our above question, with the hopes of them maybe realizing this should be a global change to $ application like it should have been in the first place. That was just last week. As it stands currently, work is still ongoing on whether or not $ application can work in Citrix, and we have not yet added that text file to all installs. Thank you. Next. I've worked in the telecommunications industry for several years now. I work in a specialized part of tech on a small team where we deal with issues that Tier 1 and Tier 2 can't solve. I have more than a few stories I'll start sharing here. This story is from about 3 or 4 years ago, so some of the quotes might not be 100% accurate, but it's close enough to get the point across. Tier 2 transfers a call over, telling me that the customer claims to have a virus on the phone, and does not want a replacement sent out. iPhone 6s if I recall correctly. Okay, transfer over. Customer comes on the line. We'll call her Mabel. Hello, I need you to fix my phone. It has a virus on it. Me. Okay Mabel, I can fix just about anything, and will not be transferring you today. Explain what the phone is doing. The phone has little red bumps on the screen and part of the sides. I'm sorry, what? Like polka dots? Is it uniform all over, or random? Random. At this point I look over the notes from the previous 2 agents. The troubleshooting completed was minimal. Factory reset hadn't been completed, and after asking Mabel, she seemed more concerned about the phone than any repetitive troubleshooting. Thankfully, she is calling from an alternate phone currently. Mabel, are you able to use the phone, like make a phone call, send a text, or open an app? I think so, but I'd rather not. Okay, why is that? Can you call say a friend or family member? I would like to test what parts of the phone are not working correctly, if I have to. But let me get some gloves, before I can ask what she means. She puts down the phone. Keep this in mind, as it's important to know later. She comes back a few minutes later, and says I don't want to infect my sister's phone. Can you provide a phone number that is safe to call? I'm speechless at this point. It dawns on me that she believes this phone virus is spread by calling someone, as if someone with the flu sneezes on someone. Mabel, phone viruses cannot be spread by making or receiving a phone call. I assure you, she has no risk of being infected. Are you 100% sure? At this point, my sarcasm gets the best of me, and I can't help myself. I assure you there is no risk. Business name, uses the best network in the industry, and our cables use electronic disinfectants. When you make the call, it kills any viruses. I know, I am a bad person for saying that, but I couldn't help myself. Okay, well that's why I have, business name. Let me try calling my sister. She calls, it connects. She's on speakerphone, and says she was making a test call and will call back later. Okay, so these polka dots on the phone. This is the only problem, right? She says yes. Okay Mabel, do me a favor and turn off the phone. She complies. I give it a minute to shut down. Are the polka dots gone now? Mabel, nope, they are still there. They are all red, almost like a pink color. Bumps on the phone. Now I am confused. I assume she turned off the screen, but did not shut down the phone. Mabel, are you sure you shut down the phone? Like, the Apple logo shows up on the screen, and it is completely turned off, right? She swears it's shut down. This is getting much longer than I expected, so I'll skip the next 10 minutes to ensure the phone is shut down, and the additional 15 minutes figuring out that Mabel thinks this is a biological virus on the phone, thus the latex gloves mentioned earlier. I spend probably another 10 minutes trying to assure her that's impossible, which she does not believe. She has a daughter who is a nurse and knows these things, she tells me. She also refuses to have a replacement phone sent out. Tier 2 attempted to do that, but she doesn't want to lose her contact/pictures, and doesn't trust connecting it to her computer for backup. I get an idea from her red bumps comment earlier. Mabel, can you set the phone down flat on a table, and look at it from the side? Are the bumps on the screen visible? Yes, the bumps are on the screen, but I can't see the side bumps from this side. Do you want me to turn the phone around to see those? It's now been a good hour and a half, and I've about given up on this. I have no idea what the problem is. I decide to start from scratch, and cover every possible thing. I ask her to remove the SIM card, and read the SIM card number to me. After she removes it, she can't read the small numbers, so she calls for her grandson to read it off. He comes into the room, grabs the phone, to which Mabel goes, "Grandson's name. Don't touch that, it has a virus. Put it down, now." The grandson apparently isn't the best behaved child, and this saves my sanity. He scratches at one of the polka dots on the screen, and Mabel freaks out. "Don't touch anything, don't move, don't move. I'm going to get the hydrogen peroxide." Seconds later she comes back, and the grandson asks why there is dots on the phone. She washes him up, and reads off the SIM card number. As the grandson is there on the line now, I ask him, "What did you scratch off the phone?" The grandson answers, "I don't know, it looks like paint." Mabel gets back on the line, and I almost feel foolish for asking, but I can't help. "Have you done any painting recently, Mabel? It's odd you ask that. We actually just got done painting a nursery for my great-granddaughter. You know that moment when you can't do anything but, long sigh? This was that moment. I spend the next 10 minutes trying to get Mabel to scratch off the paint, which finally does, and we fix the phone. TLDR, Customer calls in to fix a biological virus that's infected her phone. Her virus was a little pink paint splatter from painting earlier. Thank you. Next. Background. I used to work IT at an amusement park. Part of the job is going out into the park to work on troublesome cash registers. So, sitting in my office playing Minesweeper on one monitor while constantly refreshing our help desk ticket webpage waiting for something to do on this slow day. Eventually a ticket comes in for a register not working. As usual, the ticket had no info on the actual issue, just which register it was. I call the location and I'm told the cash drawer isn't opening for a cash transaction. I go through the normal over the phone troubleshooting steps and it's still not working. So I walk out into the park, go up to the location. It's an outside stand-alone location, and see an annoyed looking lady standing near the cashier tapping her foot impatiently. Oh geez. I walk up and address the cashier. See, me. So, drawer not opening? See, yeah, it won't open. I walk up to test it out for myself. There's no transaction on screen, which usually there would still be until the cashier has fully completed it. I assume that his location-led or sup must have come and cleared it until I fix the issue. A regular employee does not have the assigned permissions to clear out a transaction. I test the drawer by scanning my badge and selecting open drawer. It worked. When I open a full till, I always keep my hand against the drawer to prevent it from fully opening and any money being accessible. It opens just far enough for me to confirm that the release and push spring mechanisms are working. So it seems to be working now. Can you try the transaction again? See, oh, we've already completed the transaction, but the customer wanted to give me extra change she found in her purse so that she could get a $1 bill back and not have the change. So there was never any issue with the register? Regular employees also do not have assigned permissions to open the drawer without a transaction taking place for hopefully obvious reasons. See, your number. I just need the drawer open to give her $1. Customer lady, can you just open it up? I'm in a hurry to get to ride. Okay, well, if there's money being exchanged, I cannot open the drawer for that. To avoid the possibility of being blamed for a till coming up short, and my supervisors have specified that I cannot do that. Customer lady, just terrifying, do it. Now also not happy with her attitude. I'm sorry ma'am, but I'm not allowed to do that. I can however go find the location lead or supervisor and they can do that for you. But I am not allowed to interact with the tills, and the employee is not permitted to do this type of exchange, or they would have the assigned permissions to make it possible. Customer lady, wow really? F you. Okay, just do your job and open the drawer again. Again mom, I'm sorry, but neither of us are allowed to make this type of exchange. I understand it's inconvenience, but I can find you a supervisor within just a few minutes. Customer lady, F you. Keep the change. She then throws a handful of dimes and nickels at us and walks away. I ask the cashier if he's okay and then radio my security supervisor friend, and that lady is permanently banned from the park for assaulting employees. I hope she enjoyed her churro. I also inform the employee that in the future to not have a trouble ticket put in if things are working. Just call his lead/supervisor. Thank you. Next. This has to do with technology, so I hope it's allowed here. If not, please remove it. Apologies for the long post and for the formatting. I'm on mobile because I'm too lazy to grab my laptop. TL. Doctor, some younger students forgot how to turn off the hazer. The whole fire department had to be called in to clear the haze out of the building, and the thought of our very scary boss made one student cry. A little info here for those of you who may not know. A hazer is similar to a smoke machine but much less drastic and creates a less thick cloud, called haze. It's used to accentuate lighting and allow for beams of light to be clearly defined and visible. When I was in Bible college, I worked as an events production technician doing audio, video, lighting and even some set dressing for musicals, concerts, and other kinds of events on campus. At the time, I was a junior and pretty high up the 4-level employment tier, level 3 student technical leader of something like that. Towards the end of the semester, the kids in the stage lighting class, mostly freshmen and sophomores, all had a final project due where they had to program a light show set to a song of their choosing. They were all told they could use the chapel lighting gear as long as they were responsible and took care of the equipment. Spoiler alert, some of them weren't. The last week of the semester, A group of 3 students were in the chapel, programming their final projects while a movie on the lawn event was being held a few buildings over. Our tech director, an ex-police officer and generally pretty scary and intimidating man, was heading up the gig. I showed up about 15 minutes after the movie started, mostly for the free soft pretzels, and just hung out and talked to my boss, who I was very close with and could talk to for hours. Lucky for the young greenhorns later on, about half an hour later, we hear fire truck sirens in the distance, seemingly heading towards the college. We figure some idiot left something in their dorm microwave too long again and just kept talking and watching the movie. Lego Movie 2, if you're interested. A few minutes later, the fire truck and chief's truck arrive and park right outside of the chapel. My boss looks at me, almost in a panic because he can't leave the event without being forced to pay me the 2-hour minimum, and I just say, I'll go check it out. I needed the money, but I was just way too curious to just sit around when something interesting could be happening. I get to the chapel and the lobby is filled with what appears to be smoke, but I can't smell anything. I see the 3 lighting students leaving the chapel and ask them what happened and if they're all okay. They all put their heads down in silence. A solid 30 seconds goes by before one of them, with the fear of our boss making his voice waver, quietly says we forgot how to turn off the hazer and it set off the fire alarm. Now, in the actual sanctuary of the chapel, there are sprinklers and heat detectors, so a hazer normally wouldn't trigger the fire alarm due to its relatively low temperature, no matter how thick the haze. However, the lobby has your normal photoelectric sensors, which use reflections of light to trigger the alarm. Smoke, or in this case, haze, doesn't allow the light emitted to be bounced back to the sensor, thereby triggering the alarm. So, they explained to me that the doors to the sanctuary were all closed, but the haze must have seeped through the cracks in the door frames and into the lobby, which is what triggered the alarm. I respond with, are you kidding? You forgot how to turn off the hazer? Is it off now? None of them are sure, so I now have to check it out and make sure the situation won't get worse. I then walk up to the firefighters, who are already aware of what happened. I explain that I'm, technically, these students' supervisor and I'd like to check out the building and document the situation for my boss. They wave me in, saying that the building is safe to enter, and as I open the doors to the sanctuary, I realize that, even with all the ceiling lights on, I can't see past the first row of seats about 5 feet in front of me, let alone to the stage about 50 feet away. At this point, I can't help but start to laugh as I carefully head up to the stage, make sure the hazer is off. Luckily the fire alarm automatically shuts down all A/V equipment, and leave the building to let the fire crew do their job. The whole situation was just so ridiculous, and the sight of a haze hotbox chapel was just too funny for my sleep-deprived college student brain not to laugh at. I walk over to the students, one of whom has now disappeared, trying not to let my amusement overshadow the seriousness of their mess up. After finding out that the student left, physically crying, because they were so afraid of talking to our boss, I tell the other 2 to stay put and get the other student back there if they can while I help my boss pack up the movie event and bring him back here. When I get back to the lawn, my boss looks eager, albeit a little worried, to know what was going. At this point, there were now 3 fire trucks outside the chapel and 1 more on the way. I explain what happened and my boss gets pissed, ranting about how irresponsible they are, how they should have paid attention in class, all kinds of stuff. I calm him down and remind him that mistakes happen and at least nothing is damaged and no one is hurt. The movie finishes, we hastily pack up and head back to the chapel. The 3 students are mortified and fully aware of the approaching chewing out they were going to get. Most of the haze was gone at this point. The firefighters did a great job pressurizing the room and aerating it. The students quietly help us to start packing everything away in storage. Me and my boss talk to the fire chief, and, as it turns out, every single truck on duty had to respond to this call to make sure they had enough fans and other equipment to clear the building. My boss looks slightly ticked off at this. Being a former law enforcement member, he knows that this is wasting their time and isn't happy about it. But, he keeps his cool for the moment. He asks me to finish packing everything up and update inventory while he talks to the other 3 students. From the storage closet, I can hear him whisper screaming, absolutely reaming them. He had just replaced the haze bottle 2 days ago, $35 a bottle, and the fluid is supposed to last a few months before being replaced, and they had accidentally emptied the whole bottle of haze fluid into the chapel. That's a gallon of fluid, which, if the room was a square mile, still may have been too much. He gave them a warning, explained that they could have fried the hazer if it kept running without fluid in it, told them to never let that happen again, and set up a mandatory training session for them on how to properly haze a room. They all had learned their lesson, and so far I haven't heard any other haze horror stories since I left. Moral of the story: pay attention in class when being taught how to use an expensive piece of equipment. Nobody likes looking stupid when something goes wrong. Thank you. Next. TL. Doctor, I'm telling some vendors that they're fired for poor security, and doing it from a client site while I'm fifth wheeling an ill-considered shove everything to the cloud project. Part 1. Part 2. Part 3. Part 4. I've spent the last 10 minutes yelling while stomping around the client site's parking lot, then make my way back to my borrowed cubicle to prepare for the next meeting about client's cloud transformation project. I come back to more disappointment. I find my chair, and the jacket I draped over it, has been borrowed by a member of the audience to some YouTube video a few cubes down. I walk over to the interloper. Me, I'm sorry to bother you, but you've got my chair. Interloper, without looking at me, yeah, I'll be done in a minute. Me, please. I'm having a day. I've spent most of it telling people they don't have jobs anymore. Interloper vacates my chair and pushes it back in my cube, then walks quickly away. I spend the next 40 minutes or so preparing for my next meeting about patching and vuln management issues. I'm not entirely sure what this has to do with cloud, since I'm assuming they're going to re-image the physical servers and reuse or sell them. But I'm the security person and can bill the time. So I go. It's the usual mix. 2 project managers, 2 older men in golf shirts, 1 younger man with edgy, fractal hair on the client side and a manager, 2 senior consultants and 1 junior on the consulting side. All the consultants are fans of the mid-market grey suit, so are some kind of amorphous goo on our side of the table. The meeting starts with statuses and schedules. Nothing seems to have moved from last week, so there's all that. I'm not going to change the project status to yellow, but we're getting close. Talk that's more practiced than a flight attendant's how to buckle your seatbelt speech. It seems we're getting close to the deadline for some set of patches to be applied to the existing systems, and that's going to push the whole project. I'm missing something that I can't find in the project wiki or the bunch of email threads. Me, hey, I'm sorry if this has been answered before, but I'm new here. Is there a data export problem if we don't update the systems before cutting over? There's some murmuring. The 3 client engineering types look at each other with a mix of annoyance and shame. Golf shirt number 1, we decided to do it that way for engineering and product reasons. Me, aren't you decommissioning these VMs? Golf shirt number 1, well, on our servers. They'll be imaged and moved to the cloud. Me, well what? I knew you were replicating some of the architecture, but running it from the old VMs is like taking all the old parking lot and fast food receipts from my old car and putting it in my new car when I trade it in. Why keep the craft? Mandelbrot haircut. There are modifications made to the DLLs to support the application. Me, and you don't know which ones? Amorphous goo. It's not well documented, so we decided to move the whole systems over. Me, and that's why you're patching by hand? Golf shirt number 2, yes. We have to so we don't break the application. My phone buzzes with a message from she, my boss. I look at it out of the corner of my eye. She, did you accuse a vendor of drug use? Me, ugh, damn it. Golf shirt number 2, is there a problem? Me, sorry, just something else. I think I understand the problem better now. I'll see if we can come up with something to speed the process. The meeting continues to gyre and gimbal in the wab. I've had a full day, so I make my way back to the hotel. I flop on the bed and call she to check in. Me, hey, I wanted to touch base with you and bring you up to speed. She, what happened? Froomkin called and they seem very unhappy. Me, well, they got shit-canned. Few people are happy with that. She, they said you accused them of using cocaine. Me, I used a drug adulteration metaphor. You weren't happy when I used a broken glass and baby food metaphor because people are protective of children, so I picked an adult one. She, that was inappropriate. I can only give you so much air cover. I realize now I'm not lucky enough to be climbing into a well-defended Lancaster. I've been given an ill-maintained fairy swordfish and there are altogether too many Messerschmitts about. Me. I apologize. From now and going forward, I'll only explain that they failed to meet requirements. She. That's the best approach. Don't be colorful. Me. I'll try. I spend the next 10 minutes going over the usual topics. How much money she's wife spends on unnecessary things, like food for their children. Why I'm a chump for preferring IHG to Marriott. And while talking about cocaine is a no-no, should I have some, I should let she know. I realize that I've been talking to she while lying on the scratchy bedspread that housekeeping took out of my closet and put back on my bed. I can't figure out what's more annoying, the idea of being she's chaperone while he's got a head full of coke, or this 80 grit bedspread. This is my life and it's ending by the 10th of an hour. To be continued. Thank you. Next. Highly recommend reading part 1 from more than a year ago for background. https://www.com/r/talesfromtechsupport/comments/7ye5z/ the colors are different/. I used to work for a company providing support to home users. Charged them an arm and a leg, but we had zero competition. Home users could not get same-day tech support elsewhere. I have since moved and work 9-5 in an office job, but some old customers who have my mobile still call asking for support. I offer weekend service and charge 75% of what they would have paid the company. I still make more money from what I was getting from the company, 33%. Lady, you fixed my computer more than a year ago. Wondering if you can still help me. Me, how did you get my number? Lady, when you couldn't find my apartment you had called me for directions from your mobile. I had saved your number. I called your company and they said they could help me, but I didn't want to speak with the reception girl. She was not a technician. I wanted to speak with a tech and be sure if they can help me before I commit to anything. She explains who she is, where she lives, are the colors. Lady, I know exactly who she is. Me, I don't work for them anymore. But if you want I can provide my services on a Saturday or a Sunday. Lady, great. Unfortunately I have been told Win 7 will no longer work. Can you install Win 10? Me, absolutely. I can install Win 10 for you. Lady, but is it going to have a key? A few years ago I ungraded to Win 7 and paid a technician, but it didn't have a key, so when I needed to reinstall it I had to buy another copy. Me, it will have a product key. We can buy it from the store. Lady, should I install it on my current computer or do you think I should get a new PC? Me, I would recommend getting a new PC. From what I recall you had an old CPU and very little memory. Lady, I have 1 TB of memory. Is that not good enough? Me, you have 1 TB of storage. Memory is different. Memory is RAM. If I recall correctly you had 4 GB of RAM. Lady, is it enough for Win 10? Me, it will work, but I would say 4 GB is the bare minimum these days. Having more will be beneficial. Lady, then let's just upgrade the RAM instead of buying a new PC. Me, I can find DDR3 RAM. Would be best buying used instead of new. Lady, how much do you think is enough? Me, 1632 GB to future-proof yourself. But then to future-proof you should buy a new PC. Lady, my PC is still very good. It is not that old. Me, I wouldn't call a first gen i5 good. It is really old at this point. Lady, will my software work on the new PC? Me, it will work without issues. Lady, how can you be sure? You don't know what software I have. Me, look, how about I come to your place this Saturday for a free consultation? I can check what software and hardware you have and recommend a new PC. Lady, okay, but can you really install Windows 10? Me, yes, absolutely. I can install Windows 10. Lady, if you can, why are you no longer a technician? Me, I work somewhere else now, but still am very much a technician. Lady, but what do you do? I want to be sure you don't waste both our times because the other tech came over and after a while said he cannot help me. Me, I work for a company that provides support to banks, schools, universities. Earlier I was providing support to home users. Lady, so you are confident you can help me? Me, if I can work with banks and universities then I think I can help you. Look, I can come over Saturday for a free consultation. What time are you available? Lady, do I need an SSD? The other tech said I need an SSD. Me, SSD is for your storage. I will be definitely helpful. I can give you an SSD if you want. Lady, but I have got memory already. Why do I need SSD? Me, SSD is not RAM. It is for storage. Lady, what does SSD do? Me, reduces boot times from more than a minute to around 10 seconds. Lady, but I have got memory. 1 TB of it. Me, you have 1 TB of storage. 4 GB of RAM. Lady, no, I have 64 GB of RAM. Me, I highly doubt that. Lady, it says here 64-bit. Me, that is your OS. Has nothing to do with the amount of RAM. Lady, but what does the SSD do? Me, reduces boot times. Listen, can we do this on the free consultation? I have to go. Lady, but what will this all cost? Me, not counting labor, I can build you something for around $750. Odd. Lady, holy hell, that much? Why that much? Me, that is really cheap for a PC. Lady, I don't want a gaming PC. I need something simple. Me, okay, I can bring it down after the consultation on Saturday, which I am doing for free. Lady, but is it gonna have colors? Last time you fixed the PC I didn't have colors. Me, it is gonna have colors. Lady, what does the SSD do? Me, reduce boot time. Lady, I want to keep my tower. I won't pay for something I already have. Me, we can keep the casing and only replace the processor, motherboard, memory and add an SSD if needed. Lady, why change everything? Just change what needs changing. Me, can't change any of those parts without changing the others. Lady, why? Me, my phone is about to die. I don't have a charger. Let's do this on the free consultation on the Saturday. Lady, okay, I hope you can do this. After you build the PC you will be providing me with remote support, yes? Me, remote support how? Lady, another company I spoke with said for 1 year they can remote into my PC anytime to fix any problems. Me, no remote support. I work full time so no remote support possible. Lady, okay, maybe after hours or weekends then? Me, no remote support. I don't provide remote support. Lady, okay, I will text you my address. I will see you on the Saturday. Thank you. Next. What in God's name do you want, Burns? I asked, groaning as my smartwatch buzzed and awoke me from my slumber. I slid off my bed and onto the floor, opening my bleary eyes slightly. I could tell it was Monty. My manager was the only person to text me at 6 in the morning on a Monday. I think he was an insomniac, but that probably isn't the reason why he's calling me so early. He's an vindictive asshole and like to take his sleeplessness out on us grunts. Sadly, I get paid a lot of money to be on call, so when he says jump I have to ask how high, rather than why don't you fuck off, and storm out of the office like I daydream about at times like this. I reach out and grab the nearest stable object, using it to pull myself up onto my feet. I yawn loudly and rub my eyes, feeling sleep fall away as I do so. I open my eyes and blink twice, before grabbing my phone off my nightstand that oh so kindly assisted me off the floor seconds before. I unlock my phone and glance at the text. 911. I need you here ASAP. Critical issue. It read. Shit. Guess I better get in. I fire back a quick response, courtesy of Android's new auto response feature. Be there soon. Much more diplomatic than anything my sleep-deprived brain would be able to muster at that hour. I stretch and throw on some clothes, grab my messenger bag and get in my car, but not before making a cup of joe. Can't say I like the stuff much, but the caffeine will help. I take a sip and grimace at its bitter taste, before heading into work. 28 minutes of traffic jams, road rage and some Kavinsky later. I cruise into the car park and saunter into the office. I nod to Paul, the security guard, as I scan through the turnstile and walk to my abode, buzz myself in and put down my bag and coffee cup, before going to my manager's office. This had better be good, Burns. I grumble to myself before knocking on his door and pushing it open without waiting for a response. What's this critical issue then, Chief? I ask, trying to mask my disdain caused by a lack of sleep and / or caffeine. Burns looks up at me and scowls slightly. He can see through my masquerade, and I can see that he can see it. He doesn't comment on it though. He never does. It's one of the few things I actually like about the guy. The server is down, he replies, before going back to his newspaper. This was another reason why I hate my boss. He can be a moron sometimes. The server? I ask, trying to wrap my head around such a complex idea. Exactly, the server. I want you to fix it before people start coming into work. Which server, boss? You know we have dozens of different on-prem applications here, right? It's not all just on one server. That part was technically true. We had cold swaps of all of our physical application servers that would boot in a few minutes if one of the live servers went down, and would use our distributed storage servers as a database. Also, I'd get an email about it from our off-site monitoring system. As I hadn't got an email yet, I was almost positive that this guy was just being an idiot. Burns didn't seem to like the way I'd spoken to him, apparently. Yes, I know that. I'm not stupid, you know? Look, I can't connect to the server to do my work, so just turn it back on and fix it, okay? I beg to differ on that first point. I think to myself before going to the other side of his desk to try to glean more info. He slaps his finger against the monitor hard and I wince. Look, no new emails? See? He moans. And that's when I see it, a little red X in the top right corner of his mail icon. I sigh and grab his mouse, click on the send/receive tab, then, very deliberately and heavily, click on the work offline button. Fixed. I sigh and walk away from his desk. Oh, and I'm leaving at 3 today because I got in early. It wasn't up for debate, or so I thought. I got in early. I should leave early. It should be zero-sum game. He smirked. Oh no, you're not. You've got that implementation meeting with that new supplier at 4, remember? He knew what he did. I groan and nod. Yes, boss. I murmur before leaving his office. It was going to be a long week.